Yo, what's going on guys? Jared here. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a discussion video with you guys talking about the future and the next set of Yu-Gi-Oh! Being Age of Overlord. The set is set to release in October, and I know we've been a little bit bored without a little bit of a ban list, and now that Worlds is over, we're kind of in the off season. But when this set releases, I believe this is going to be a big jump in popularity for the game again, and with the ban list also coming out soon, that is also going to help with popularity, so it's going to shift up the meta, shake it, excuse me, shake up the meta, and make sure you are prepared for when the set comes out, because if a ban list drops maybe in a couple weeks, you want to know what's getting support and what you're going to want to play after this set comes out. So I think it's important that you stay ahead of the game a little bit. So today I'm going to go over some of my top picks for the set, things to keep in mind for the set. So if you enjoy this type of content, please subscribe, and yeah, let's just jump right into it. Okay guys, so just as the clarification again, we're going to be talking about Age of Overlord and the cards in the set. This is going to be launching on October 18th, 2023. So just something to keep in mind. We will have a ban list by then, I'm assuming. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. This is going to be the next big release for Yu-Gi-Oh! Most likely. Yeah. And then starting off as an honorable mention, we have Tistina. This is going to be in the set. We know it's in the set, but we don't know what cards they're going to be getting because it's the TCG exclusive archetype. So this could be very bad support. It could be very good support. In my opinion, the first wave of this deck is like solid foundation. There's like, out of the 5 or 6 cards they got, I believe 4 of them have deck interactions, which is always a great sign for a new archetype. So this is something that I would definitely keep on your radar, and it's so cheap right now. So if you have any inkling or any interest of this deck at all, I think why not pick it up for how cheap it is. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys the preface on that. Also, before we jump into the actual cards, just wanted to say I'm not going to be reading every single card that I'm showing here. I am just showing you guys and talking about them. If you want to read the cards that I'm going to be talking about, the effects will be on the screen. Please pause it and read it. So yeah, jumping in with the first of the new archetypes that is coming out, out of 2 that are going to be really strong, is Diablo Star. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. My pronunciation is probably as good as TV Grinders. But the Dark Witch. This archetype is very good. This, along with its Sinful Spoil spells cards and trap cards, very strong cards. Going to be a very strong generic engine. This is probably going to be some of the chase cards of the set, in my opinion. How generic and splashable this is with multiple different strategies, not even just in its own. It being level 7, so you know, obviously there's some synergies with maybe Kashtira depending on how the ban list handles it. Yeah, there's just a lot of good things going for it, and the spell and traps are also really strong. I'm not going to be showing every card of every archetype. I'm just showing the archetype basis that you should be looking out for. So yeah, this card being generic, a lot of people are going to be looking for it. Fits into a lot of things. Another thing to say, it is a female Yu-Gi-Oh card that is strong. Those usually tend to be very expensive. I'm just giving the heads up. But yeah, so the other archetype that is going to be in this set that is going to be probably on the lookout for a lot of people is Horus. I love the Egyptian look of cards, and Horus, the whole archetype, looks amazing. The actual deck itself plays very like Unga Bunga in a way, which is like you can summon a bunch of big monsters. They are all level 8 big beefy monsters, and all of their effects are like okay to good. None of them are like bad. They're all just like okay, they're good. But they swarm the field very quickly. They're all based around a card called Pharaonic Sarcophagus. That is another new card in the set. It's one of those decks that is based around one spell card, and if the spell's in the field, it can swarm the field with level 8 monsters. And if it's not on the field, the deck, I'm pretty sure, does a whole lot of nothing. But it's also generic and doesn't lock you into anything. So this is another deck where you can mix it with other stuff, and you can get a lot of value, maybe a lot of combos going, depending on what other strategies you mix it with, right? There's a lot of strategies that can do a lot with just free level 8 bodies. So just something to keep in mind. And this is also, this one in particular is like the consistency and a extra draw card because it searches the sarcophagus and draws a card. Super strong card, but this is just another archetype that you want to be on the lookout for when this set eventually drops. I think it's really cool and something to look into if you want to look into all of these 2 archetypes. Moving on, that is the only 2 archetypes that I think are going to be very like new archetypes that are going to be extremely popular. Really quickly, I'm going to run through the archetypes that are getting support because there are so many, and I didn't even get all of them in here. I just think these are the ones that are have a lot of that are more interesting than the other ones in my opinion. Starting off, TGs are getting a slew of support in this set. Very cool cards. I would recommend looking into them if you're a TG fan. This is like, it's been years since we've gotten like actual good TG support, and these all seem like solid. Again, not competitively meta breaking, but if you're a TG fan, this could be for you. Maybe there'll be some broken combo for it. Who knows? There is a level 1 fire support card, and this card is really strong, so there could be something there, but we'll have to wait and see until then. Next, Ogadoic, the Reptile archetype that was from that awful set, unfortunately. I love Reptile cards, and I always want them to be good, but they never are, it seems like. But this card, as well as they're getting a spell card in the set, is actually pretty solid. This is something that can revive itself back and also bring something else back on top of itself. So it's like a double reborn, one for itself, one for something else. Very free as well. So just something to make Snake Rain even better for this deck. This deck has a lot of ways to send from deck to graveyard, and once you get your engine in the graveyard, it gets huge advantage. So I'm a big fan of this deck. It's just very complicated and hard to get a proper end board while you're comboing, but the cards in this set I think are going to help a little bit with that and being able to summon even more bodies on the field to do more stuff with. Next up, Labyrinth. This card is probably one of the best support cards that a deck is getting for an existing archetype. This is a ridiculous card. Being able to set traps from your hand or special summon Labyrinth Monsters is crazy on turn 0, because you're also activating a Labyrinth in the hand that lets you activate other Labyrinths. Like that's like a deck where it has hand traps and interruptions and like board breakers all in the same deck. So this, along with furniture cards, you can start playing. This is like another card that lets you play on turn 0 in a game, or as we know, stuff like Tearman's Havness is always kind of crazy. We also have the, the Rescue Ace card that also lets you play on turn 0. Impulse, I believe it's called. Those cards are really scary. Anything that's like, oh, turn 0, I can start my engine. Always terrifying. This is another example of that. So this is definitely going to be a card, if you're a Labyrinth player, you are really going to need to keep your eye on it. Next up, Vanquish Soul. There's a new Vanquish Soul card coming out. I don't think it's that great, but it's like interesting to talk about. I think at least revealing 2 fires, you can be able to search any Vanquish Soul card from your deck to your hand. So depending on what your hand is, maybe you can get the extra spell card rather than have to get it from Mad Love. There's some like scenarios this can come up, and extra fire monsters in hurt as well. If you have something like Stake Your Soul, you can get to the main fire guy from that. So just something to keep in mind. I don't know how many copies if they're playing this, but I think it's something that's worth noting, to say the least. Really random archetype that is getting like 4 cards or 3 cards is the Hungry Burger archetype. This is just one of them that I picked out that I think does the best for the deck. There's a new spell that special summons this card out and gives your opponents a monster, which, if you know anything about the Hungry Burger deck, you want your opponent to have a monster so you contribute it with your ritual monster effects to then keep going into new ritual monsters. That's like how the deck plays and gets advantage. And this card helps with that strategy a lot. So something to look out for if you are a Hungry Burger fan. Cheeto Birds. I think these cards are really strong. I think these are very underestimated, because the Cheeto Bird deck already is kind of scary, because it's one of those decks that can play a Mono Iwado in the main deck. But because we are getting new consistency cards for this deck of new searchers, they are getting both of these. I believe a new spell as well. There's another small ritual monster that leads into the big ones again. I don't know. I think this is a very unique deck, ritual deck especially. Like Ritual Spirit is such a weird combination, but seeing it in a deck and how it works, I really hope this deck can take off in a little bit of ways, because I think it's really unique and cool and different. And ritual decks are always, I don't know, they always just feel like the cool deck. Ritual decks are always cool. Earthbound Immortal is getting this card, but I actually don't want to talk about this card specifically in this. This is the only Earthbound Immortal card in this set, I believe, but there is a slew of Earthbound cards that are in, I want to say, Animation Chronicle in the OCG that we do not have yet. But if we are getting this card in this set, I think that we are going to be getting those other Earthbound Immortal cards soon. I do not know when or in what other product, or if they're going to be imports, but they could be, they could be imported into this set if this is already in here, and then you have all the Earthbound Immortals in one package. But again, this is something that is in here already guaranteed, so they might just throw the other ones in here, just something to keep in mind. The new Chimera Flying Mythical Beast Monster. This card is very strong. This is another way to recycle on your opponent's turn with being able to fusion into it with illusion monsters. That is super important. The one that we currently have does not let you fuse with illusion monsters, so having this being able to fuse with them makes a big difference. And when it's summoned, you are able to Foolish Burial essentially any beast, fiend, or illusion. That is very generic. You can do a lot with this card. I haven't figured it out yet. I am playing it currently in my Runic Chimera deck, because I think this card's nuts. But yeah, and then it has the same effect as the other Chimera that we already have. where you can banish itself to target, but it targets a banished, not one in graveyard, to special summon it back. So this can actually bring back the Chimera that you banished previously to summon something else, and then you can use this to bring back the Chimera, and then it just keeps the engine going longer. It's so good. Like, this card is an excellent add-on to the Chimera deck. So if you are playing the Chimera package deck in, you know, in Branded or Runic or just straightforward, but whichever, definitely keep your eye on this. This is going to be a very important card of your strategy. Magnadium, that deck, the Synchro deck, the Vsauce deck, it's getting more support, as I feel like no one is really talking about this card, though. This card is one of the craziest cards I've ever read, I feel like. Is a generic level 6 Synchro that when it's Synchro Summon, you target a level 2 tuner in the graveyard and special summon it, but its effects are negated. That is nuts. Any, like, Synchro extender that you can keep comboing off of is, like, usually broken in some kind of way, and someone figures out a way to just abuse it, and I don't see why this would be an exception. Obviously, it is a tuner itself, and it brings back a tuner, but the new Visa Starfrost that we got in Dune, I believe, or Duelist Nexus, does not need non-tuners, so you are able to just synchro right into that anyway. I think this card can see play outside of Visa Starfrost stuff in general, or you could even use that as a package in a deck and then just play like a Visa Starcross trap card as an interruption. You just like synchro climb right into that. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to use this, I feel like, and it's very generic and very good. So it's just something to keep an eye out for this set. Also, Magnadium's getting a bunch of support, not just this card, but this card I think is by far the best one in the set. Exceed the Pendulum. This is another card that I feel like is slipping under the radar. It is a Link 3 for Pendulum. I am not a Pendulum fan. Let me preface that. I do not like Pendulum. But this card is really good. It gives you something where the current Pendulum Link monster, Beyond the Pendulum, can go into in a meaningful way and actually do something and not just like weed into nothing. I think this is an excellent add-on. Being able to add a Pendulum monster from your extra deck to the hand, just like Electric might used to, really good. And then being able to special a Pendulum from your hand as an extender is also really good. I think that's just like really, really strong, to be honest. I think there's a lot of ways you could use this. Even it having the 3 arrows under it is also super important. That could come up in maybe, you know, I remember Pendulum used to be able to play like a the Dragon package. I don't know if that's still going to be viable, because now you have a good level Link 3 monster that points down again. So I don't know. There's always some crazy Pendulum piles, but I think this will be a good add-on for pretty much all of them. I don't think this is like a very good generic Pendulum card. So if you're a Pendulum fan, definitely want to get your hands on one of these. Yes, the Sinful Spoils spell card. So this is a card that goes in the archetype of the Diablo Star archetype. But I want to point out this one specifically, because this one is generic level 1 fire support. This is like an emergency teleport. So you send another card you control to the graveyard. Special summon a level 1 fire monster from your hand or deck. So the first thing that comes to my mind is Rescue Ace. Of course, there's like Summon Hydrant, and then that's like a 1-card combo pretty much if you resolve this. So you like set a back row, activate, or no, you can't set a back row, like activate Field Spell or something, and then use this, send away Field Spell, Summon Hydrant, or you might like change the packages around, but this is like really, really good. Or you can just play her or the Dark Witch herself to be able to get to this. The point is, it's another way to get to Hydrant, and Hydrant makes that entire deck move. So, yeah, like, but this could also be used in any other level 1 fire deck, whether it be something like Volcanic or something like Infernal. There's like level 1 fires. Like, this is like the year of fires everywhere. Or in the actual Sinful Spoils deck, that is also a thing. This is an entire deck too, where they have like 3 level 1 fire monsters. So this is just an emergency teleport for the deck. Not a quick play spell, of course, but it beams out one of them from the deck. So I think this is a really good, like a generically good card that you should be thinking about for the upcoming set. Speaking of generic fire support, we have Infernal Blame Banshee. This card is really strong. When we get a very good fire archetype, this is something that you are definitely going to want to look for, because it is literally just detached to search a pyro or send it to the graveyard. It could also be a Lava Chain. Generic 2 level 4s. That is like the most you could ever ask for. And then it even has a little bonus effect where if this card's banished and you control Pyro, you can special summon this card. It's not that great of effect if you're playing it for the first effect, but having anyone knows a generic rank 4 that searches can always lead somewhere, I feel like, in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So this is just another add-on to like rank 4s to keep in your mind. And with, again, this is the year of fire monsters, it seems like, or the set of fire monsters at least. We don't know when we're getting Bonfire, but that'll be another good thing to go with this. Again, might be imported into the set. We don't know, but regardless, this is a really, really strong rank 4 that is something that you might want to get your hands on one copy of just in case. Coming down to the end of the list here, I have 2 generic chase cards that I think are both going to be really, really strong. I really love both of these cards for different reasons, but they're both so good. The first one is Stellar Nemesis T-Fon Doomsday Star. I am so bad with names. This card is crazy in my opinion. I think this is a very simple card, but it is a great way I think this is a great card design, to be honest, from Konami's standpoint, because people always complain that combo decks and, you know, even simple combo decks can do a lot without a lot of counterplay, especially if you're playing a slower type of deck. And I think that this is an excellent card design perspective of you can play a slower deck and still have a very scary threat in your extra deck. Like, I think of something like a Dragon Link M board, where they end on Savage plus Boral End, when you can just play this card, like, having this card in your extra deck, you can just, like, play any monster, and now you are threatening the Boral End. You didn't do anything. You just normal summoned a monster, and Boral End is threatened. That is crazy to me. So, just, like, that in itself, I think is super strong. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest chase cards of the set, if I'm being completely honest. That is just my opinion on it. Again, this card can have applications anywhere, like not just that example, of course, but I think for future metas up to come, this is going to be very strong. Not like, I don't think it's going to be like Zeus levels of strong, but it is going to be like a one of splashed into a lot of decks. Just like, I drew suboptimal, but at least I can still do something, you know? Like, it's just like, why not play it? I feel like at that point. And lastly, SP Little Knight. Little Knight, yeah. This card is bonkers. I obviously am a Runic player, and this card screams Runic all over it of how good this card is. Being able to, when it's Link summoned, to target a card in the field and graveyard and banish it, and you can't attack directly for the rest of the turn, I'm playing Runic. I don't care. I'm linking this with Hugin, so it's gonna trigger. So going second, I get a new option to be able to deal with something. Oh, I want a bonus effect on top of that? Okay, cool. It's an interruption on my opponent's turn as well. What more could I ask for? This card is nuts in every regard. This is probably one of the best Link 2 generics that we've had in a little bit. So seeing this like come, I think this is going to help a lot of Sprite variants. This is giving them something good to end on. Also a good way to clear stuff in the Sprite deck, because Sprite deck kind of struggles clearing with monsters. They're playing the Omarashu Soul Sweeper right now. You might not need to play that anymore if you can just play this and just clear like a body like that for free. Yeah, you can't OTK them or anything, but like the fact that you just get to clear bodies is really strong. And then again, like it being an interruption on top of that is even better. So that is going to finish off for the set. I am a strong believer that the top 3 cards of the set are going to be SP Little Knight, Stellar Nemesis T-Fon, and the Diablo Star Dark Witch. I think those 3 cards are going to be the top of the set. That is just my personal opinion, but let me know what you think down below, and let me know if I missed any cards that you wanted to see in this list, because I think Age of Overlord is very exciting, and there's a lot of cool generic and again, supporting archetypes that we already have for the future of the game. So it's going to be exciting in October when we get this set. Plus, again, we're going to have the new ban list by then, so you know the meta is going to have a big shift at that point. So if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.